We'll start with opening statements, and Gary, you may start when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you for coming out. My name is Gary Blackwell, and I'm a candidate to be your Ray County Sheriff. I have lived in Ray County since 1996, bought land, cleared land, built a house, raised my family, bought a cemetery plot right down the road, so I think my commitment to staying in Ray County is pretty well established. I am 23-plus year veteran of the Missouri Army National Guard, Army Reserve, and Active Duty Army. Served in Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom. I have over 14 years in law enforcement experience with Clay County Sheriff's Office, served in numerous capacities there. One thing I need to mention, if you notice the right side, my right side of my face drooping, it's a wonderful thing called Bell's palsy. I don't know whether anyone's ever had it. It's a joy to get it in the middle of a campaign season, let me tell you. What I want to do is I want to bring a feeling of belonging back to law enforcement, to the Sheriff's Office. I want the Sheriff's Office to operate within a budget. I want the Sheriff's Office to be a Sheriff's Office where people want to come, they want to stay. We can't afford, I'm currently a sergeant with the Clay County Sheriff's Office. Clay County Sheriff's Office starts deputies out at $55,000 a year. Can we compete with that? No, we can't compete with that. But with that, if we give them a sense of belonging and create a culture within the Sheriff's Office that makes people want to stay. Most people leave an agency, most people leave a job because of poor supervision. They don't leave a job because of money. So if we get that family atmosphere and that culture of belonging within the Sheriff's Office through servant leadership, I believe that we will all be better off.
Scott, when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Scott Childers, Sheriff. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, as Gary said, also for Jeremy to be here, and Richmond Daily News for putting this on. A little bit about myself. I'm married, been married to my wife, Kristen, for, I don't know, a long time, so we'll just call it that. She doesn't remember either, so I'm cool. But anyway, we have a 10-year-old son, Grady. Grady is adopted. We adopted him when he was 20 hours old. He was chosen by the birth mom. He's our world. That's what my life revolves around, is our child. Couldn't be more proud of him. He says his prayers every night. He loves his mom and dad. Great kid. My goal for Ray County is, I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. This county has got to get involved and work together. And is what I've done since I've been in term is tried to bring everything to the people. Whether or not they liked it, I always said my goal was to, if you heard it from me, it would be the truth. And my decisions I made would always be what I thought was best for the county. And I listened to the people. I tried getting people to be involved with boards, people to be involved with knowing where their money was being spent, people to question, because the government is made to work for the people, not vice versa. We lost that a long time ago. We have to take the power back. You guys have to empower yourself, and that's what I want to see from you, is get involved, get on these boards, bring Ray County back to where you want to see it at. I love this county. I grew up here. I graduated from Richmond High School in 1997. A lot of familiar faces out there. Guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me.
Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
Hello, Ray County. My wife and I, we went to the Elms and fell in love with this place. And we decided to move here 3 years ago, maybe 4 now. And about that time, I ended up working at North Kansas City Hospital, and I've learned a ton there. I've learned a ton about mental health there. It's been a huge thing. We deal with mental health and emergency management constantly. We do, on average, 20 to 60 restraints a week. At the hospital, they don't like handcuffs because it's not a bad guy, it's a patient. So we work around it. And my de-escalation has gotten great. I'm the trainer there, so I'm teaching everybody how to do that. When I went through the police academy in 2007, I graduated, Kansas City's police academy. And I fell in love with police work. I'd worked at 12-hour shifts, and I wouldn't want to go home at the end of the shift. And I just wanted to make a difference. I hear a lot of complaints about the sheriff's office and the jail, and I wasn't going to complain, so I decided to throw my name in the hat And luckily, it's made me introduce myself to all of you and get to know some of you. So thank you.
First question, what is your plan to address the issues at Ray County Jail? And Scott, you may start when you're ready.
Certainly. So one thing I want to do is create a community board that deals with operations of the jail. So that way there's an oversight from the community that's made so we have multiple people looking at it with different interests and have different specialties. The jail's going to have to eventually be replaced. There's a way we need to do that without it costing the taxpayers more money. Katie brought up a good point. You guys brought it up about writing grants. The problem was during my time when we hit COVID, grants had really gotten cut out because that money was just turning into COVID money and ARPA and things of that nature. So grants are starting to come back. We need to look at grants. At one time I brought up that we would look, I did go for a tax. I was given some bad information. Hey, listen, I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, but I've learned from those mistakes. I don't make them twice. With that being said, though, is we need to figure out a way. I would like to see tax reformation done in this county. I think there's a lot of wasted tax, especially in one certain area, and that will come out more in my plans. So we can reallocate money to help save the taxpayers money. And with that, also, between building the board and having people to look over this community board to look over the jail, they can maintain it while we move forward with the plans and the future of a jail. I do think that it would be smart to try and take on inmates to make. Everybody says you shouldn't make money off jails, but guys, the taxpayer should not suffer from the jail sucking all the money out of the county. That's where we got to be. Even if we break even, that's fine. We don't want to be paying out a ton of money and losing that money.
Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
The jail. The jail is a hot topic I have heard so much about, and I don't know what I've heard. I don't know which parts are true and which parts aren't. I've heard corruption so many times around this county. I've been meeting people, hundreds of people, and everybody is accusing everybody else of being corrupt. I've seen no evidence, but I keep hearing it. So with the jail, I think training and policy is going to be a huge step towards the right direction, making sure cameras are working. And I think we probably do need a new jail, but I haven't toured it. I haven't seen the inside of it. I'm thinking the best route is going to be to give it a little bit of time and try to fix what we have first, because that's going to be the cheapest route. And then that way I can come to you all eventually and say, hey, these are all the steps we tried. It didn't work. Now we may need a new jail. But I want to start out with trying to fix what we have before I ever step into building a new one and costing more money in this county, which we've heard a lot about taxes tonight. So thank you.
Gary, whenever you're ready.
All right, we talk about the cheapest route. Cheap isn't always good, and good isn't always cheap. There is an institute called NIJO, National Institute of Jail Operators. And what that does is that identifies national best practices for the operation of a detention center or a jail. The jail is one of the four statutorily mandated functions of the sheriff's office. You have to keep a jail, serve civil papers, provide for court security, and law enforcement in unincorporated parts of the county. Those are four statutorily mandated functions of a sheriff in the state of Missouri. Now, if we have a jail that doesn't meet NIJO standards, the liability that it exposes our county to in lawsuits for conditions within a detention center far outweigh the cost of improving the jail as it stands now. What we need, in my opinion, is an audit first thing off the bat. We need to audit the entire operation. We need to audit the jail. Does it meet national best practices at a minimum? Okay? So if it doesn't, we don't necessarily have to belong to NIJO. NIJO is an area that they want agencies to belong to, that it costs them money to belong to this, but you can mirror NIJO standards to the best you can and see whether or not it's going to fit national best practices for the incarceration of inmates in that jail. Thank you.
Next question. What disciplinary actions have you received during your time in law enforcement, and what did you learn from it? Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
Good question. When I was a new cop, I was obsessed with catching the bad guy. I thought it was the most important part of my job. So there was a lot of times when my bosses would tell me to back off that car chase, and I discovered a couple of tricks. Like, I could cue that mic, and I could hang on another 20 or 30 seconds and try to catch a license plate. Well, your bosses don't like that. And so my first year of police work there at Grandview, I got maybe 4. It was mostly for car chases. I think there was one when I had a bad habit of reading policy, and I'd learn it really well, and then I'd challenge my boss on it. Well, that doesn't usually end well because it's your boss. And then when I worked at Harrisonville, several years later, I got a talking to, or they do progressive discipline with police work. So any little thing, they'll put it in your file and put it in your disciplinary record. So that way, if you have more issues, you get in trouble later. So at Harrisonville, I got in trouble for not taking an AOA report, assist outside agency. We set up a perimeter, and I was lazy and didn't take a report, which was really common, but I took my lick and moved on. And I learned to pick my battles. That was one of the biggest things I've learned. I've said it before, nobody wins an argument because all you're doing is turning people against you. And so what I've done, like at my current job, is I offer to help people. I read the policies, and then when I see an issue, rather than making fun of somebody or calling them out on it, I try to fix it, and I offer help. And that has helped me tenfold in my life and with my job. Thank you.
Gary, whenever you're ready.
This is an excellent question. Have you ever asked for permission to speak freely, and then when you do, it wasn't really the permission that you thought you had? Okay. When I was a corporal in the Clay County Drug Task Force for the first time, I was prosecuting federal cases. I prosecuted a 26-person federal indictment for conspiracy to distribute more than 500 grams of methamphetamine. During that time, while I was concentrating on the federal cases, I neglected to close out some state cases that I wasn't going to prosecute anyway, but you have to close them out. So, along with that, then it started to back up because I was in triage mode right there because I got 26 federal indictments sitting in the Western District of Missouri for a conspiracy case. So then we're working that, and these little cases that maybe that you proffered these people, and in exchange for proffering on this federal case, their state case didn't go anywhere. Well, you neglect to close that case out. It languishes there. But you know that it's not going to be prosecuted. So then when the drug squad starts going a different way and you vehemently disagree with the way that it's going, and you ask for permission to speak freely, and they say yes, and you let loose, sometimes that will get you transferred. It got me transferred to the road, got me reduced from corporal to deputy, got me sent to road patrol. That was in January of 2017. By December of 2017, I'd been named the Field Ops Employee of the Year. So I learned my lesson. I learned that maybe I didn't have quite the juice I thought I did, and it humbled me. But it taught me that we don't always have to yell and scream and holler. Maybe we sit down and we have a frank conversation with somebody, face-to-face conversation, and we solve our problems that way. Thank you.
Scott, whenever you're ready.
Hi, guys. My 9 years at Clay County, I had 2 employee action write-ups. Basically, that means you get a slap on the wrist, stays in your file. Was it 6 months, a year, Gary? I think it's a year. Yeah, a year. And then it goes away. 2 of them were for surprisingly open my mouth. One was prosecutor and myself. He wanted to. He gave me consent to pull a cell phone off a guy who we were looking at for downloading child pornography. During my interview with the guy, he admitted that he did have child pornography, but he had erased it off there. However, he still had a chat app on there where he was actively talking to a 13-year-old girl. This kid was a senior at William Joe College. For that reason, I seized the phone, sought a search warrant, got a search warrant. Prosecutor signed off on it, and then he recanted. I asked him why. He said, well, would you just open somebody's wallet if they told you there was cocaine in it? I said, no, but I'd take the wallet, write a search warrant for it, and that's exactly what we did here. And he told me I violated someone's rights. I told him he apparently liked pedophiles better than law enforcement. I got wrote up for that. I stand behind it. I was proud of that. I asked if I could get it back to frame it on my wall. They never gave it back, but I stand behind that one. Second one's kind of the same thing. My wife is a school teacher for the North Kansas City School District. She just now moved to Excelsior. She's going to be doing SPED for children who are ages 3 and 4. I'll speed this up. So anyway, the school district, while I was working as an SRO in there, I arrested 4 teachers out of Winnetonka High School that were in an inappropriate relationship with students. That's what took me over to working crimes against children. I was good at it, and I was passionate about it. I pissed off sorry for my language, I made the superintendent mad because we were at a get-together. Somebody asked me how the crimes against children was going. I said, Winnetonka's making my career. He didn't like that comment. I said, well, start taking care of your people instead of covering it up.
If elected, how would you work with other county offices and boards? And Gary, whenever you're ready.
In person and not on Facebook. We have lost the art of interpersonal communication because everybody types emails and everyone sends text messages to one another. And we have lost the art of people being able to sit down and say, what do you need from me? I've gone to prosecutors before, and I have vehemently disagreed with the prosecutor before, and I've sat down and I've said, what here needs to be improved? What here is not probable cause on this search warrant affidavit or on this arrest warrant? What have I failed to put in there that establishes probable cause, which is facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime has been, is being, or is about to be committed, and that the person in question is involved? What do I lack here? Sometimes they've said, yes, you lack this. And I said, okay, that's something that I can correct. And sometimes when you read the definition of probable cause to somebody and you sit down and you have a face-to-face conversation with them and you treat each other well, sometimes they'll say, you know what, Gary, you're right. You do have probable cause here. And then we can go on with it. But the fact of the matter is, in America nowadays, it used to be, cell phones, you used to remember everybody's phone number, right? Back in the days before text messages and chat apps and all this stuff, we used to be able to sit down and talk to people, and that's something that we lack today. That's something that I'm proud of being able to do, is that I get along with my group of supporters, includes both Republicans and Democrats. And I'm happy to say that because there are people in this country that are driving wedges in between Americans, and they are doing it for a reason. If we're fighting each other in here, we're not looking at what's coming up behind us. That's what we need to get back to, the art of interpersonal communication.
Scott, when you're ready.
Okay. I agree with Gary on a lot of things. Some I don't, and we'll get into that. We have to quit driving a wedge between each other. We're a county. Democrat, Republican, does not matter. However, I once sat here where these guys didn't believe I could make things better. I was hearing the problems from the other administration, believed that I could fix everything. I realized there's certain things you can't fix. I tried for the first 2 years to make things work between me and another person. We all know what that Facebook thing was about, so let's just talk about it now. So when I cannot get crimes that should be taken care of and charged in this county, or I can't get a pedophile charged, I come to the people because that's all the last resort I have. I'm passionate about protecting the citizens, and I'm passionate about protecting children. And when I watch people walk out that door who have admitted to committing a crime, and yet there's people with low-level drug charges just hanging on because that's easy fruit to pick. I get upset about it. So I did the best thing I knew to do. I brought it to the people, said, we have this problem. I've done it with every time I've had an issue so people could know what was going on. And until people get involved, we can't make changes. I've always included you guys in everything I've done. I've admitted when I've made mistakes, and I'm going to keep doing what I do, and that's involving everyone. Lastly, I want to say is there's only so much you can do with certain people. When they say in a public meeting you try to run them off the road with inmates in your car, that's insanity you can't fix. Good luck, guys.
Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
Remember that argument comment I said earlier? it's the same thing. I don't want to argue with anybody because we all lose, and I think that's been happening on every front around the county. It looks like we may have new commissioners. We may have a lot of new people here, and I want to work with them so we can make the sheriff's office better and make this county better, because I think that's what all of you and me and the two men sitting at this table with me, everybody deserves here. And there's been a whole lot of drama and accusations and stuff before me, and I wasn't even here for it. I have no idea what happened, and I just want to make things better. Thank you.
How will you ensure the Sheriff's Department is transparent, accountable, and follows all state rules and regulations? Scott, you may go first.
Okay, so obviously Facebook is what I believe in the most. It reaches the most people. Listen, if I could have people come into a meeting and sit down, I would love that. And one thing I do have on my agenda, and we'll talk about, that I want to see in the next 4 years is a Citizens Academy. Clay County does it. It was on what I wanted to do it my first term, but other things came up. We ended up doing a children's program instead to bring them with law enforcement. So doing a Citizens Academy is a good way to get people into a program so they can understand how we work, and a good way to connect with the public. So that's something I really want to hit on. I still think Facebook's the way to go, to let people know what's going on. Yes, maybe approaches need to be different. Like I said, I learned from my mistakes. But sometimes it just needed to be done. So I don't apologize for some of the things either. You don't have to agree with it, but as I said, if I say it, it's going to be the truth. And what I say, I always say for what I think's best for the county. I have fought for this county. I love this county. I have fought for the little man. I don't care if you sweep the floors or own the business, you're treated all the same. And that's how I want everyone to feel, that I truly care. The other thing is, you know, the elephant in the room with me right now is what's going on with the Attorney General. Talk about following the laws. I did follow the law. I have emails from the Department of Justice, from the Attorney General's office saying you can do this work program. It got perverted by lies. Those lies are unwinding quick, almost as quick as they can make them up on Facebook, but we're unraveling them. I'm fighting it, guys. I'm going to be here. It can only affect me for the rest of this year. So if I win, I'm back January 1st no matter what. I just want everybody to know that, because I know there's a lot of confusion about it. Thank you.
Gary, when you're ready.
Can you repeat the question again?
How will you ensure that the Sheriff's Department is transparent, accountable, and follows all state rules and regulations?
To begin with an audit. We need to know where we are. Look, before we start a Citizens Academy, we need to have our house in order. Before you invite a bunch of company over, you generally clean your house up, okay? So we need to make sure that we are running to national best practices standards before we start doing that. I'm an avid supporter of the Citizens Academy. I think it's a good idea because it lets the citizens know there's a lot of things. The citizens who think that every night on patrol is like cops, they don't realize that it takes hours and hours and hours and hours of filming to make one episode of Cops. They don't see, like, during pursuits when everything is good and it's going really good and then it goes really bad and it goes really bad really fast. And that's the part that the citizens don't see. The citizens don't understand why you just can't go up and kick a door. Well, it's this pesky little thing called the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, which protects me and it protects all of you against unreasonable searches and seizures. That probable cause has to be determined before a search warrant or before an arrest warrant is granted. And it lets the citizens know that. With the citizens in on a Citizens Academy and doing ride-alongs with the department, it's going to show the citizens that the department is operating in a legal manner. But oversight is something that drastically needs to be done. Leadership is something that needs to be done. There's a difference between management and leadership. I've always told people when I had a leadership class in the Army, and they said, what's the difference between management and leadership? And I said this. I got spanked for it, but I said it because it's the truth. Management is knowing which DA form to use to order a case of toilet paper. Leadership is having people follow you to the gates of hell, regardless of your rank. Follow you to the gates of hell because they know you are going there and they want to follow you. Thank you.
Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
Transparency. if you saw my shirt back there, that all those really pretty green shirts in the corner, they say transparency on them. I want it to be on our patch here. I'd like it to be very transparent. We don't even have a website right now for Ray County. I'd like to get a website. There could be a complaint spot on that website to make it easy for people to file complaints, because if I'm in charge, I want to hear what the citizens have to say about the deputies. Not that there's issues, because they've been great, the ones I've met, but if there are, I'd like to know. The Citizens Academy is a great idea. We had really good luck in the past with a volunteer program. We had a lot of retired citizens in the county, well, in the city there, and they were able to come help, and it was neat because then the officers were able to go do police work. So like vehicle unlocks, house checks, things like that, we could have the volunteers do, and then that way the officers were stopping cars, getting bad guys off the streets like I was obsessed about when I was, a young guy. And that's exactly what I think would do really good. That and things like in-car cameras. We don't have in-car cameras here, no dash cams. And I found a way that I can bring that here real cheap. I've been talking to a lot of other agencies. I've been talking to other sheriffs. Been playing phone tag with a few. I've talked to people that run jails. I've got a lot of good ideas, and I've reached out to every resource I could think. And then that way, if I luck out and can take this spot, I've already got a lot of plans I can put into place for more transparency and better coverage and a lot of things like that. Thank you.
What are your specific plans, actions, and policies you will implement to address crime rates and ensure public safety in our county? And Gary, you may start.
Patrol is a big one. We need to patrol all areas of the county. I live in the western half of the county. I live pretty far west in the county, and the patrol a lot of times doesn't make it out there. Now, I'm not bagging on anyone for it not making out there. Sometimes you're going out to a specific area with the purpose of patrolling in a specific area, and then you get called off midway. So I realize that stuff happens. But in Clay County, they have things called districts. And you may be in District 1 and 4, you may be in District 2 or 3. And in Clay County, it's the west side of the county or the east side of the county. Now, I'm not saying Clay County is best practices on anything, but it's a place to start. If I'm on the western side of the county, essentially I am hanging out west side of I-35. North to south, I'm good. West side of I-35 till you get down around Liberty, but that doesn't really amount much. Okay, east side of I-35. So my entire responsibility for that night is going to be, if I'm East Car, if I'm 2 and 3, I'm East Car, then I'm hanging out on the east side of I-35. I can go where I need to go. But we also have crime reports. We have weekly reports on crime reports of who's getting hit when, predictive analysis of when crime is going to hit within a specific area. You don't need to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows, okay? Listen to your communities. If you see something in your neighborhood that doesn't belong, you know that it doesn't belong. That's when it's up to the citizens of the county to report that in and say, look, I'm seeing a lot of traffic. I'm seeing this car that's coming to my neighbor's house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's staying for 1 minute and 12 seconds on the average for the last 15 times he's been here. Don't need to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. What's going on there? That's probably narcotics distribution, right? So you listen to your public, you listen to your citizens, because they know what belongs in their neighborhood and what doesn't.
Scott, whenever you're ready.
So, and once again, Gary said it right, it's patrol, guys. We're 570 square miles in this county. We are a big county. And so with that being said, we're also over 80% gravel. So the first thing I really focused on was we needed better cars that can maneuver better, especially when we're trying to get to a call. Because from Elmira to Hardin, it's 45 minutes. We have a lot of gravel roads. We have a lot of windy roads. I mean, these roads were laid out by wagon trails, and they're hilly, they're curvy. So we took care of the problem of our call times. And I don't think there'd be very many people that can't say that county law enforcement did not greatly improve when I took over. And I'm very proud of that. And how we improved that was we couldn't do districts. You have 2 guys on, sometimes a third that floated. I would work a lot to help out, so we might beef it up and have 4 people. But that's all I was allotted, because in a third-class county, you can only have so many deputies. That's set by the that's set by the judge. And then during that time, I got raises for everyone. So when they want to talk about staying within budget, the reason why my budget looked $300,000 over is because the wrong budget was picked. I was asked to write 3 budgets, and they gave me the raises, but they didn't put the right one in. But that comes down to serving the people. You have to take care of your people. You have to make sure they want to be out there patrolling. You patrol by putting them in nice equipment, and you patrol by making sure that they can feed their family. So as long as you're making the people happy, they're going to be happy to do their job. They're doing their job. I'm proud of how we do it. I think we do a great setup. We do watch crime reports, and also anybody that knows me knows you can call my cell number if you're having a problem, and I'll come out and take care of it if I don't send someone else out there.
Jeremy, when you're ready.
Can you repeat the question for me?
What are your specific plans, actions, and policies you will implement to address crime rates and ensure public safety?
Well, I've become a policy guy over the years, so it first would be policy and training. I think policy and training fixes a ton of issues, and it sets an expectation and a standard. And then that way, it's clear-cut, you know what you're doing, and reminding the deputies that they're part of the community, they're not over it. And I think a lot of community programs do that, and I've seen great success. Like in Harrisonville, we had that VIPS program, we had a Citizens Academy like they referenced, and we had an Explorers program. And I think things like that are great, especially the Explorers program, because there's a lot of kids that want to be officers. It's their dream. And without an Explorers program, they have a gap in time by the time they graduate to when they're 21 and they can actually be an officer. I was lucky, and I got to work at the jail and gave me a lot of experience. Because as an officer, you can drop people off at the jail and be kind of a jerk. If you're working in the jail, you're dealing with the same people over and over again, so you learn how to talk to people a little bit better. But definitely policy, procedure, road coverage is huge, and making sure that the deputies are part of the community. That way you may fix some of the crime issues before they even begin. Thank you.
How will you improve the relationship between law enforcement and the community? Scott, you may start.
So I feel like I said, we've already done that, and that's by getting people involved. Now, is what happens, though, the best way to get involved is through social media. That keeps coming up, right, guys? Because I implemented that. I was very big on that. But with social media, you're always going to have, you see it right now in the campaign, you're going to have all these people want to get in, just create havoc, come in with fake accounts, things like that. But it doesn't matter. You have to choose to ignore it, because when you put the information out there, social media is the best way to do it, because for the people that can't travel, for those that are homebound, things of that nature, or just have a job, they can get on and see what's being currently updated. I think we did a really good job about letting people know what was going on in the county. I really want to get back. There was a little bit of disagreement about what we should share out, like when we made a drug arrest, like if we should show the narcotics or a weapon found. We got through some of that, but I wanted the people to know what we were finding, what we were pulling off. So I still say social media is the way to go, and we just got to learn to be respectful and work with each other on that. Secondly, like I said, I think a Citizen Academy is a great way to do it. And then to get community involvement is, I just think people, like I said, they've got to be involved with boards, knowing where their money's spent and things of that nature, and they just don't understand it. So we've really got to bring people in and explain sometimes how our government works or how the county's set up, and let them know and understand how that works, and they will get more involved. I'm seeing younger kids show up at these, and that's what we really need, our future, to be involved with it and keep moving forward.
Jeremy, you may start when you're ready.
Well, transparency, I think, is one of the best things, and I don't agree with Scott on this one. I think social media is almost a cancer anymore. Right now, this campaign, all three of us are probably getting attacked right as we're speaking right this very second on Facebook. And I feel like we are excluding a giant part of our population by going through Facebook, because there's a lot of older people that don't use Facebook. So I think that that's a huge thing, and I think things like this, town hall meetings. I'd like to once a month have something similar to this, to where people could come drink coffee and talk to me and let me know what problems they have. Like I said about the website, I think a complaint spot on the website, so that way it's easy for people to file a complaint and they don't have to worry about being intimidated. Not that that's the case, but if somebody feels that way, I want them to be comfortable, because the police are part of the community. They're not over it. Thank you.
Gary, whenever you're ready.
I wholeheartedly agree on two matters on that. Number one is on Facebook. Facebook, to me, I consider Facebook kind of like PowerPoint. It's both the best and the worst thing that's ever happened for communication. But with getting the citizens to know that they are part, we work for the citizens. They are part of what we do. They have input to what we do. The Constitution and statutes are the overreaching control of what we do, but the input of what we do is from the citizens. If someone's had their log splitter stolen, if someone's had their riding lawnmower stolen, that's important to them. And it's not always easy to find that. One of my favorite things to do when I was on road patrol is I'd go up and I'd work a burglary, and I'd go around there and I'd say, where did he make entry? Well, he made entry over here. So you go over there and you say, you do realize that Burglar 101 states that you wear gloves, correct? Yeah, okay, I realize that. I'd go over there and I'd use my fingerprint powder and I'd dust, and I'm not finding any prints. Well, the homeowner there is looking at it like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just over here with a brush, and he's not going to find anything. So then I'd tell him, hey, come over here away from this door, and I want you to just take your thumbprint over here and just hit that wall. So they take their thumbprint, or they take their thumb and they just hit the wall. I take the fingernail or the fingerprint dust and run it over there, and bam, a fingerprint shows. So when that fingerprint shows, what did I do? I let the citizen, I let the homeowner, the property owner know that, number one, I am proficient in the task. Number two, it keeps them from thinking the guy came out here, spread a bunch of fingerprint powder all over the place, and didn't find anything. They know that if there was a fingerprint there, that I would have been able to find it. And little things like that can work to repair a relationship. Little things like showing people don't care how much you know until what? They know how much you care. Thank you.
Do you feel it is important to address the Ray County prosecuting attorney when it comes to cases being dropped or never being filed after Ray County Sheriff's Office investigates the alleged crimes, such as Justin Robinson, who is facing 6 counts of domestic assault, 6 counts of armed criminal action, and 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child? Anthony Stevenson, who was charged with 14 counts of first-degree assault on a law enforcement officer and 13 counts of armed criminal action. Darren Tackett never being charged after a shooting, and the case in Homestead Village where the state auditor offered to assist in prosecution of missing money. If so, how would you address it? And Jeremy, you may start.
Well, this is a very tricky question. And the reason is because there's been no court date. I thought we were innocent until proven guilty, no matter who it is. And I don't have the facts on this to really comment. If it's true, I think it's a terrible thing, and the prosecutor should be removed, and whatever penalties the courts find, that's what should happen. But if that's not the case, then me to say that without knowing all the facts is careless, in my opinion. And no matter who it is, until court, like I said before, I don't have the facts, so I'm not going to give an opinion on something that I don't know. So, sorry, guys.
Gary, you may go when you're ready.
The biggest question is why weren't charges filed? Were charges not filed because somebody's civil rights were violated? Were charges not filed because it was a bad search? Fruit of the poisonous tree. If I conduct a bad search and I recover something while conducting that bad search, fruit of the poisonous tree, that thing that I recovered is no longer admissible in court. That's why we have to have our ducks in a row when we go in and we do these things. When we conduct search warrants, it has to be a valid search warrant when we do it. If civil rights were violated, the fruit of the poisonous tree says you can't. I don't know. There's only one case of this I know, and his name is Anthony Stevenson. And guess what? This guy indicted him in federal court. Anthony Stevenson is now currently cooling his heels in federal court for conspiracy to distribute more than 500 grams of methamphetamine. Okay? So when he got into the shootout out here in Ray County, after shooting at a Clay County deputy, got in a shootout out here in Ray County, ask not for whom the bell tolls. Look, Anthony's getting his due. Why he hasn't been prosecuted over here? Here's what a lot of times they like to do. They like to prosecute somebody, and they say, I'm going to sentence you to 45 years. And everyone goes, and then they say, concurrent with what you have now. So in other words, what are you getting for that case? If I'm sentenced to 45 years, and then another case, they sentence me to 45 years, and they serve it concurrent to what I have now, how much time do I have to serve? 45 years, not 90 years. That's the difference between concurrent and consecutive. When they say consecutive, and I get 45 years here, and I get 45 years here, how much time do I have to serve? 90 years, okay? In the federal system, you have to serve 85% of your time before you're eligible. That's 8.5 years on the 10, okay? So if you get sentenced to 20 years, you're doing 17 years in the federal prison, okay? So I know all about the Anthony Stevenson case because I indicted him. So I know Anthony Stevenson deserves everything that he gets. Absolutely everything he gets.
Scott, whenever you're ready.
Thank you for clearing up Stevenson. I can tell you the other cases I know very well. I was a part of working them, or my investigations unit worked them. There was not an investigations unit here until I got here. We hired some seasoned investigators and we trained them. So I know when we do a case, it's done right. There are mistakes made, but these cases specifically brought up are some of the worst and should be prosecuted. The reason why they're not prosecuted is the prosecutor's scared to do her job, plain and simple. She's had 4 cases go to trial, and all 4 have been either thrown out or hung juries. And so this is why the issue that I finally brought to the people. And I am now paying the worst price I've ever paid in my life for it. But you know what? It's worth it, because had I not done it, right now there is a sexual assault victim that would not be getting her justice, because once they removed me, there was enough stink they had to go get Neary, pick him up out of Ohio. And I paid the price for it. You know what? I'd do it again because I care about you guys. I love this county. I'm going to protect everybody with everything I can. It means something to me, guys. This isn't just a job you can come up with and say you're going to do all these different things and you're going to make it work. You don't know what it takes to deal with certain aspects in this county and certain people when they don't want to do their job. You can try, you can care, you can love as much as you want, but plain and simple is we are one cog on the wheel. We can't prosecute. We can't make the sentences. It takes someone else to do it, and that person has failed you.
We will now go into closing statements. Gary, you can start whenever you're ready.
Again, I'm Gary Blackwell, and I'm running to be your Ray County Sheriff. I'm not going to say that everything is going to be easy. I've faced adversity many times in my life. I've stared IEDs down that were 5 foot outside my window. I've been hit by 18 IEDs, and I'm still here. And I'm still here for a reason. Not all of those are catastrophic, but I've been hit by 18 IEDs, and I am still here. I believe that I'm here for a reason. I don't need a job. I don't need a title. I don't need a rank to prove to myself who I am. I know who I am. I know the metal that I'm made of, okay? So I don't need anything to complete my life. I want to do it as a calling, because I believe that if you see something that's wrong and that you can do something about it, that you ought to stand up. There are times in everyone's life when it's time to stand up and be counted, and you need to choose wisely, because once it's come and gone, you can't get that time back. I found that I have far more regrets about chances or opportunities that I had in my life and didn't take than opportunities that I took advantage of and maybe didn't completely succeed in. So that's what I want. We talk about getting the community together. The office of sheriff should be a nonpartisan election. It should not matter what political party you belong to, because the sheriff is a member of the executive branch of government, okay? But a sheriff can't issue an executive order like a governor or a president can. So political party has a lot less to do with the office of sheriff than it does with other executive branches, or offices in the executive branch. What I need your vote. I need your support. Democrat or Republican, anyone who wants to vote for any one of the 3 of us is going to have to pull a Republican primary ballot and vote for the candidate of your choice. I hope it's me. I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Scott, whenever you're ready.
So I agree with Gary. It doesn't matter. We're a county. We need to be citizens of the county, and we need to come together, because at the end of the day, we don't have numbers that matter. We're a group of people that have to come together, work together, strive to make the county what we want it to be. I have proven over the last 3-4 years that I have been willing to do that. I put my cell number out there. I have taken the calls when people call. I personally go out to calls myself. If somebody calls and says they don't like the way something was handled, I will get in the middle of it, and I will make sure that either I stand behind my deputy or I say, no, I see where there's an issue, we'll get it fixed, or we at least come up to some type of agreement. I have done that for the last 3.5 years, and I plan on keep doing that. As I said, I'm a servant to the people. I am a leader. I'm not a boss. Never want to be a boss. I like to lead people. I love what I do. I love this county. I grew up here. My parents moved me here when I was 3 years old. They bought a farm here, and there's no better place in this world than my parents' farm in Knoxville, Missouri. That's the greatest place I've ever seen in my life. And so I love this county. What brought me back here is I was working a crime against a child, and I got stopped by the sheriff's office from working that crime. And I said, you know what, if it's that bad, I'll move back and I'll run for sheriff. And I did, and I fought the odds, and I won, and I'm back to fight the odds again and win again. Thank you, guys.
Jeremy, whenever you're ready.
I've been called the wild card. This place, the reason we're having so many issues, I think, is because this is where outlaws come from. If you look through history, Jesse James's gang, they rode all around here. The man who shot Jesse James is from Ray County, Missouri. I think that's really cool, all of that. If I'm sheriff, I want to be the sheriff. And what I mean by that is I want to be fair and impartial. And if there is corruption in the sheriff's office, which I've seen no evidence of, but I've had, out of all the people I've met, hundreds tell me there is. If it's going on when I'm the sheriff, not only will I fire them, but I'll do everything in my power to make sure they're prosecuted. I won't tolerate that. Transparency will be huge, so will policy, and so will body cams, dash cams. The jail will be ran right. I've been waiting to do this my entire life, since I got into police work, when I wanted to stay there after 12 hours. And that's what I want to do here. I want to make this the place I always wanted to work and I couldn't find. So I'm also asking for your vote this August. Thank you.